Heyo, what's up, guys? This is Ethan. I just wanted to pop on and give my apologies because about 15 minutes in the episode, my microphone shut off and we actually cut to some shitty Zoom audio. So that's on me. I had to use a separate computer to record the audio because I didn't have a USB port, but that's besides the point. So sorry that you guys have to deal with that, but we know you guys are faithful, so the quality, the conversation's still there, so hopefully it's not too bad, especially because we were all jacked up and jazzed for this Lebowski episode, so naturally, technical difficulties got the best of us. But this does give me an opportunity to talk about one other thing that we forgot to mention, and that is our producer, Drew McFadden, actually met Jeff Dowd, who is, what the movie is based off of, the man that the movie is based off, the dude in real life. And he's a real person in Los Angeles. And Drew, when he first moved out there, he was telling us the story. When he first moved out there, he actually got hooked up with some people to play a show early October in 2019 or something. I can't remember exactly. And he went over there and he met up with the people, and they were playing the show, and one of the girls was like, hey, if you want to hang out later, we're all going to go get some drinks and whatnot. I was like, all right. Or he said, all right, that sounds good. So they went. He's like, yeah, this guy that I'm seeing, he's like, he's in that one movie, it's called, I don't know, he's like the dude and something. And Drew's like, you mean the Big Lebowski, the dude? And she's like, yeah, that one. And he was like, no shit. He's like, I love that movie. We used to watch it all the time. And he's like, you're dating the dude, Jeff Dowd. And she's like, yeah. And so he tells a story that they were hanging out and he had his guitar there, and Jeff was like, is that a Gibson, Les Paul? Because Drew had this nice reissue from '58, and Drew's like, yeah, it's a reissue. And Jeff's like, nice, I have an original. And then they took the guitar from Drew and started playing with it and diddying with it and whatnot. And so he played Drew's guitar and then left. And funny part about it is later, when that girl stopped talking with the dude, Drew started talking with her. So technically, Drew and the dude dated the same person, Jeff Dowd. So they're connected forever, which I thought was wild. And he met him. So, we were blown away. We're like, oh man, that's pretty wild. And Drew just responds, that's Hollywood, baby. So we talk about that all the time, how, that's Hollywood. You meet up with people and you get interconnected, and sometimes the dude's playing your Les Paul, reissued, obviously. So, pretty funny. Those guys are, connected, forever, if you know what I mean, which is pretty funny. So, yeah, pretty good story about how he met the dude. So, please enjoy the rest of the episode. I know the audio is going to be a little different, but it's still a great episode. And, yeah, and please enjoy. Love you guys.
Donnie was a good bowler and a good man. He was one of us. He was a man who loved the outdoors and bowling. And as a surfer, he explored the beaches of Southern California, from La Jolla to Leo Carrillo and up to Pismo. He died, like so many young men of his generation, before his time. In your wisdom, Lord, you took him, as you took so many bright, flowering young men at Quezon, at Long Dock, and Hill 364. These young men gave their lives, and so would Donnie who loved bowling. And so, Theodore Donald Karabatsas, in accordance with what we think your dying wishes might well have been, we commit your final mortal remains to the bosom of the Pacific Ocean, which you loved so well. Good night, sweet prince.
What the fuck was that, man?
What the fuck was that about?
What the fuck
Vietnam?
was that? Vietnam. Why is it always gotta be about Vietnam, man? I'm sorry.
Fuck it, dude. I'm sorry, dude.
Fuck it, dude. Let's go bowling.
Let's go bowling. So, if you're aware of that emotional monologue that I barely got through without shedding a tear,
Right.
you know very well that this is now, we are entering into the potentially heavily anticipated World of Pain special edition Grunge Bible Big Lebowski episode. This is the last podcast of 2022 for us, and there's no better way to end it than to give the episode the people have been asking for. And by people, I mean there's been at least a few people. So
it's been a few dozen maybe.
Yeah, I mean, so we're hoping to make their day, and
right.
We're going to talk about the movie that we have essentially made into our primary personality trait for the last 6 to 7 to 8 years. So this is
right.
really important.
Yeah, this episode just feels good. It feels right. It's a good crossover. We like putting some movies up on the page, and this one definitely gets the most clips posted about it, and people just get it. If you like grunge music, you get the Big Lebowski most of the time, and it's so good. It was important for us watching it together when we did. I feel a lot of people, it's important to their groups and their sectors. It's so quotable, and it's one of those movies that you just love. And I'm excited to do this episode. Like I said, I don't know how many people wanted to hear it, but it's gonna be a great episode. So we're excited. We have our White Russians on deck. Obviously, we're having a few of those tonight. Cheers.
Right on. Yeah, we need those today. And yeah, I've been looking forward to doing this one for a long time. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what tangible factor that exists in both of those spheres that it just feels like the Big Lebowski and grunge music have some sort of supernatural connection. Even beyond the fact that Eddie Vedder looks like the dude,
right.
Especially
That's what I was gonna say.
As he's progressed into his older age. And the best part, when Eddie Vedder
talks like him too.
Yeah, he does. And when he performs solo,
rambles.
and Ed, when he goes solo, he has this like stage display behind him, and it's got like all the bowling pins, like from the dude's dream when Jackie Treehorn drugs him because he was treating objects like women, man. So this is a grunge episode. So for anybody that's getting upset that we haven't given them, topical grunge content, you just gotta sit back and enjoy, because this is as related to it as anything.
Right.
Big Lebowski.
Right. Yeah, and I think, the dude, he was an outsider, in LA, and him and Walter and Donnie, they were doing their own thing. They were bowling and smoking cigs and drinking in the in the alley, and I feel like it's like grunge, on the outside, it's a little dirty at times.
You don't care about appearances. You're just and you're on the
you
ground
have
and
your
you're
style.
dealing with heavy shit. I mean, like the stuff that the grunge artists would write about, obviously alienation, social unrest, grappling with your past and the life you were born into. I mean, that's the same thing. I mean, the dude is dealing with one of the most cataclysmic struggles that anybody could encounter. Somebody peed on his rug.
Peed on your fucking rug.
Somebody peed, and when something like that happens, much like the grunge musicians, you can decide to let it happen, or you can draw a line in the sand where across this line, you just don't go. You do not
right,
go.
And we bring it up, and the people, the machine up top, they say when someone mitigates on a rug, it's my problem, and like, yeah, man, kind of like I just want a new rug. So
yeah, that's really all there is to it. It's not that difficult to understand.
No. So before we get too deep into just quoting this episode, because we're pretty much, Chris and I, we've been known to quote a lot of stuff back and forth, and this has been a staple for us.
This has got to be number one. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the most quoted.
Yeah. There's so many. It's the one-liner, mecca, and we'll get into some of our favorite lines and why we like it, and we're getting to the movie and the details around it, but. Before we do, this episode would not be possible, and we wouldn't be on this episode if it wasn't for our lovely Patreon supporters. And it's time we say their names, as we like to do. So, Chris, why don't you take it away from here?
I would love to. I mean, my voice is a little burned out from that beautiful monologue that I began the episode with. But if I can exhaust what's left, I would want to exhaust it for the patrons, who are able to, who choose to support us. And as a result, we're able to make these podcasts. So at this time, I would like to thank everybody who is participating at our top level over on Patreon. And that's $10 a month that goes to us that helps us run this podcast. So if you are interested in supporting us, we have a $2, a $5, and a $10 level. Every single level we have contributors at, and each and every person that chooses to contribute is a big, big help to us. We wouldn't have gotten through 2022, 52 weeks consecutively without them, and we won't be able to get through 2023 for each week consecutively without your help. So thanks to everybody that stepped up to the plate thus far, and thank you in advance to everybody who chooses to take that leap in 2023 if they're enjoying the show. But as of right now, the top level, the people that I need to say their names as we do every week, and those people are Christine Shepard, Alex Long, Black Hole Sean, Alexis Shannon, Blue Owl, Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce, Doug Endy, Kara K, Captain Hightop, Brother Nature, Fresh Tendonitis, Fuck Soup, Granny Grunge, Jade Mercado, Faith Bittner, my mother Carlene Salona, Chris LSMS, our number one fan from Australia, Jamie Lynn, Lauren Irene, Marianne, Millie, Nikki Six, Rachel Corning, What the Fuck is Up Denny's, Seattle 4 fanboy from New Jersey, and Shoe the Shoeless. So thank you everybody for your support. It's the only reason why we're here. It's the only reason why Ethan and I can drink White Russians and record a conversation that we would otherwise have off camera and put it out into the world.
Exactly.
And people treat it as some sort of creative endeavor. This is fucking awesome. This is sick.
It is.
Ethan, right off the top, I have a question for you. So this episode's coming out the day after the Christmas holiday, December 26th. This is released. It's always a big debate, and last year we did have this debate about some movies. Is The Big Lebowski a Christmas movie?
I mean, no, in principle it's not, because there's nothing about it, but for some reason, it seems like he's on vacation, or maybe it's around the holidays because he's doing the deadbeat thing, but I don't know, the soundtrack and kind of the flow of the movie makes me, I don't know, I watch it around Christmas. I don't know what it is, but it feels like a Christmas movie to me. I feel like I need to watch it around this time of year.
Yeah.
That's the best answer I got. It just feels like it. There's nothing in the movie that would point to it being around Christmas or anything like that.
No, not at all. So I just did some on the fly fact checking at the beginning. The first scene when he is purchasing a pint of creamer from his local delicatessen.
Yes.
He pays for it via personal check, and that check was dated August 5th, 1990. So I don't believe that August 5th falls within the reasonable realm of the Christmas season. But I agree with you. For some reason, this one just kind of feels like a Christmas movie in the same way that Forrest Gump to me is a Christmas movie. I don't know what it is about it, but
Die Hard.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's no better time than now to talk about it. And with this movie, it's been, for most of the Grunge Bible Podcast's history, we've been teasing the fact that we wanted to do an episode on The Big Lebowski. I think originally we were going to do it for our 69th episode, but we didn't do it, and then we're going to choose to do it for some other commemorative occasion. But end of the first full year of podcasting, this is the best occasion, and I want to get into the origin story as to why the fuck do we care about this movie so much? And there was a really funny tweet that I saw, and I'm sure iterations of it have been sent, over the years, but the tweet was something like, it's dudes will consume 2 movies and 3 bands at age 19 and then never listen or watch anything else and just make those things their personality for the rest of their lives. And that's who I am, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
That's a great way to put it. That's exactly right. I think that the music you listen to in those teenage years stick with you differently than anything that I listen to now or watch now is different than the memory of watching something back in those days. There's always you romanticize that type of stuff. So I agree, and that's kind of what happened here. So this movie came out in '98. It's written by the Coen brothers, and It had a $15 million budget. I was looking it up to make the movie, and it sold like 5 out of the box office. So it was a dud. It didn't get
Complete
accepted
dud.
right away. And when you show this movie to people, and I think I was caught in the lore where people just like loved it because it was 30 years or 20 years after it was released, so it picked up its cult following. And it's one of those movies that at first watch, in theaters, I understand why it was a dud, because it has, as my brother said, it has no redeeming qualities. Like the story, it just ends like it's kind of a weird. There's nothing like
Donnie dies and they just move on.
Yeah, like they go back to bowling, and like it's kind of this weird hodgepodge of scenes, and I can see why people walked out of the theater and be like, what the fuck? But then like as it goes, like these characters take on another level of admiration. You just start like, you realize the acting is so good and the writing, and and then like I recently watched it, and we just went to Los Angeles. We were there in September, and I was there, and like this past year I went to California twice, and all of a sudden I realized that how much like symbolism it is to LA and like the time, and you have like the dude, that's the opening scene just killed me. It's so good. Like when they're bringing in, he's describing the dude, he's describing him, standing there in the grocery store, picking up, a pint of creamer and paying with a check. And he has long hair and a robe. And he's like, and the narrator's like, that dude that just fits in that time and place for whatever reason. He just makes sense, basically. In the city of angels. Yeah. And like when you're in LA, you just picture, you'd see the dude in a grocery store. Like, what is this dude? It's 3:00. He's wearing a robe. He's got sunglasses. Like, what's going on? So I feel like going there, like I was engulfed in this movie again, and I love it. Yeah, but the first time when we watched it, if you want to tell this story, we were back in college, and for some reason, the characters just really jumped out for us again.
Yeah. So you were an enthusiast of this movie before I met you back in 2014, where we went to the University of Pittsburgh together. And truthfully, I had never heard of the movie prior to it. And as I tell this story and as I prepare to tell it, I realize there's a lot of commonalities in the time and place that we connected over this movie. It parallels the Grunge Bible origin story in a way. It was the same time, it was the same place, and we connected over something that we just found value in artistically. So I think that might be why I kind of connect the Big Lebowski with Grunge. Right. It might just be a personal thing. But yeah, I don't know why or how you loved this movie, but I had never heard of it, and you had been on my case for at least a few weeks in early 2015. It was like January of 2015. You've been on my case, like Chris, like we have to watch The Big Lebowski. Like you'll love it. And I'm not a huge movie person, and even at that time, I was only 18, but I had my fill, and I'd had my fair share of moments where people have implored that, like, you have to see this movie. Like, you got to go see it. It's great. Like, you need to see this one. And, you take people at their word, and you go and see it, and you sit down and you watch it. And it's not what they expected it to be. So, at my young age, I was a little jaded. I was like, all right, Shalloway, like, let's see what you got here, see what it is. And I remember it was a shitty winter day, as often, days in the winter in Pittsburgh are. I don't think the sun rose, in the months of like November through March collectively once. And I think it was a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and there wasn't much going on. And finally I was like, all right, Ethan, like I got nothing else to do. Like we're not traveling to a competition this weekend for track and field. So like, fuck it. Like let's watch The Big Lebowski. So we went over to your dorm room, in Pennsylvania Hall, correct? Up on the hill. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. And we watched it on that. You had that little flat screen TV. It couldn't have been like 22 inches wide. And like we're sitting there and
connected my laptop to the HDMI cable to the TV.
Those were the days. And like all the dorms had those shitty little desk chairs that like could rock back and forth just a little bit with the armrests on either side.
Definitely watched it on like megavid.com or something like that.
Yeah, megashare.info.
Megashare.
That was the one. Yeah.
That shit was fire, dude. You can watch any movie. And you know what? Just a side note before you get back to it, that was a great movie website. And then at one point they were just like, they put a post and was like, "Hey, we're not adding any other movies. Like the catalog is what it is." They're like, "We're done," and they just like stopped putting movies on it, but everything else was like live. Yeah. And I feel like it was such a good way to go out for them. It was like you didn't get spammed and ruin your computer. They're just like, "All right, guys, it is what it is." Anyway.
That's what I would love the ending of the Grunge Bible Enterprise to be like. All right, guys, like we're done. Like do with it what you wish.
We don't want to like ponder. Yeah, be annoying for it's too long. But
exactly,
anyway.
Like we'll just shove off. But I remember that. I think it was you, it was me, and it was my fellow freshman at the time, Jim Toth, and we walked in, and I'll say with this movie, like your initial experience of it is exponentially better if you watch it with somebody who is an enthusiast already. It's it's almost analogous to the concept of having a trip sitter. Like you just need somebody there who like gets it, who knows the movie well to watch, and you were that for us, and I watched it, and like immediately, like after my first watch, I was like, I like there's bits and pieces of it that you don't understand right away, but it doesn't matter. Just like it doesn't matter that like there's a good resolution or there's a big like the bow is tied at the end. Like I mean Donnie dies and you just move on. They don't even get the rug back.
I know, and it's so funny because like obviously, you guys look to me as like someone that really knew the movie, but really Sensei. I didn't I didn't know the movie any more than like I loved it, and it was just like. It was built up and stuff. I feel like I understand them like as time went on, and I had to watch it a few more times. I understood like exactly what they were trying to get because it's like I said, it's really based around L.A. and this man, and it's like a stoner guide to like what L.A. was like, and as weird flashes with the pornography industry. There's nihilists are coming into play, and like it's just this hodgepodge, but it's very like. It's a very scenic, and I started to think about it because I really do like movies, and there's a lot of movies that take place in certain areas, and like when you're there, when you've been there and understand, like you get so much more out of the movie. Whereas like think about a movie that takes place in Boston, like The Town or something like that, and
Good Will Hunting,
hey, Good Will Hunting.
I just walked by the bar that they used to hang out with this past weekend,
Yeah, and you kind of know some of the quirks or what they're talking about, and you understand a little bit more. Like that's why these movies are culty, because you kind of need a little bit of experience to be. So I feel like I'm really coming into understanding, like what these guys, the genius behind these guys, and I feel like it took a lot of people to get there. Maybe that's why it flopped in the beginning, and it was very ambiguous. And people do like endings to be like flush in a way, and this was not that, but. It's really taken off obviously over the 30 years and became this cult following. Have the Lebowski, festival
Lebowski
each year.
Fest.
The Lebowski Fest every year. And I was thinking about, I was trying to think of like other movies. I bet you that like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood obviously has like a similar, I mean, it's a Tarantino movie and it has Pulp Fiction like scenes set up, I guess, where they're very different, but I feel like that could be something down the line that people. Yeah. I don't know how people view that movie, but like we like that.
We love that one.
And I feel like going back and watching it in like 10 years is going to be really enjoyable.
I agree.
That'll be a good one. But
like they're allegories about a certain time and place and a certain person who inhabits those time and place, and like it's funny, and I feel like with this movie, like similarly to how I feel about a lot of music, like if you were to ask me like what would you label this in terms of like what genre of music, or I guess in this case like what type of film it is, like I don't even know what I would say. Like it's kind of like a postmodern Western. I don't know. I just went on the Wikipedia, since that's all we do is just read Wikipedia stuff after the fact. And they characterize it as a crime comedy film. But I mean, that wouldn't have been my sixth, characterization of it. So, but I mean, that stuff doesn't matter. Like people get caught up in stuff like that, and everybody gets caught up in like, you have to label something, and like you have to understand everything that's going on. Like sometimes you just got to sit back and you don't have to have the answer for everything. And I think this movie is a good to learn to appreciate this movie is a good exercise. And like,
yes, that's
you don't have to answer every question that you have. Like some shit just happens just because it happens. I mean, like they pissed on his rug. Like, you know, why did they do that? You know, there's no need. I mean, he wasn't the Jeffrey Lebowski they were looking for, so just leave it at that. They already fucked up his bathroom tile because they threw the bowling ball on the ground. They didn't have to pee on his rug, but they did.
Yeah.
And you just roll with the punches. So, this and it's funny. Like ever since we watched it for the first time, the three of us, and then you and I watched it. I remember it was after a Pitt basketball game, like a week and a half later. I think I was like, hey, can we watch it again? And you were like, absolutely, we can watch it again. And I mean, that first year, I was megashare.infoing the hell out of that movie all the time.
Yeah. Dude,
it was
man,
good.
I love thinking about that. Dude, just us in the dorms watching that. It's so good.
Yeah. It's so funny too, because you know how, I guess to relate it back to music, I think all of us have those artists or those songs or those albums that like we champion to people that we know. And like if we have an opportunity to share like an artist with somebody that we know they might not know or they might not appreciate it like we do, like we want to do it, and like we feel really good and accomplished when we're able to show somebody a song or an artist and like they get it, like you see the light bulb turn on for them. Like for me, like this movie is the film version of like an artist like Petey or Mark Lanigan or whoever that like I personally love and like champion to people that I know. I mean, this is like if I force my friends to watch something, it's like it's either The Big Lebowski or Good Will Hunting, which we might have to do an episode on eventually as well.
And I'd love to. It's total different sector, but same exact feelings afterwards, you know.
100%.
It's so good. So so what makes you love the movie so much? Is it the time and place and all that stuff that we just talked about? It's just kind of like just built up, do you feel? Or is it like the acting, I guess, and like kind of the writing?
I think
like,
the acting is a major part of it. I mean, like the lead trio, of Jeff Bridges, so John Goodman, and Steve Buscemi. I mean, it's one of those things where like for all good actors and actresses, you see them in something and you will always think of that individual as that person. So like Steve Carell is Michael Scott for a lot of people. Like Jeff Bridges is the dude. Like John Goodman is Walter, and for me, Steve. Yeah. So for example, Steve Buscemi, like he's Donnie in this. And years later, after watching this, I went back and I finally watched The Sopranos front to back, and Steve Buscemi is in a season of The Sopranos, and I'm like, holy shit, there's Donnie. Like, and then you just compare and contrast like who Donnie was versus like who Steve Buscemi's character in XYZ is, and like it's so strange, but it's like a testament to how damn good of a job that they did on this film.
Yeah, and this was the part in all of their careers where, I mean, they were doing movies and whatnot, but like, you know, Jeff Bridges, this was like, I mean, he is the dude after this. And I think I heard someone talk about like before he would do like movies with short hair and stuff like that, but after this, like he was long hair for the rest of his time. Like, and he still wears it that way. And like, they really became those characters, and it like, what's it called, where you're kind of casted through those stereotypes.
Yeah, like that archetype that you have after a while. It's like everybody like this certain actor would get, you know, archetyped and always casted as like a heavy in a movie, for example. It's like, you know, Jeff Bridges, it's like, all right, like because of this performance, he's always, you know, he always has the ability, and people kind of view him as like the low life character or whatever.
Right, talk slower and, you know, you know. Yeah, exactly. And so I think it was like for those guys, I mean, they had just an incredible ability to become these characters, and I think that really set up the whole following that it gained. And some of my, we're just gonna get into some of the favorite scenes where I think that these guys like just delivered. It was like perfect acting and perfect delivery. I think the intro, I was talking off screen, I love the intro. The tumbleweed comes in, they set up the story so well. And sometimes when you're watching a movie, you put the movie on, you'll go get a glass of water, you'll go get some popcorn, you go to the bathroom, whatever, and you actually miss a little bit and then you have to come back and get into it. So I challenge you, if you haven't seen this, when you start the movie, start watching and listening to the narrator and like let it get involved.
Listen to Sam Elliott talking in that
listen
deep
to the story. Don't go bowling.
Don't go bowling. Yeah, you have to listen to the dude's story.
And it's so good. And then he's like, he's talking and he's like, sometimes there's a man. And then he's like, I actually forgot, lost my train of thought. Well, whatever, and like, and that is like so perfect for the movie. And man, it's just such a good scene. And like the front half has so like a incredible amount of quotable scenes. I mean, the whole movie does.
The whole damn movie does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so one of those things where
that intro, it's like, it's just, I think it's really, really underrated, I guess, because the rest of the movie is so good, but that is great. The music playing in the back.
It's so a part that you forget about. And I think that's another part of what makes this movie great is just like how ridiculous it is at points and how like it really doesn't have like the grand plot is not something that's, large and fortuitous. It's really stupid and like it doesn't make a lot of sense. But
ambiguous,
but like as I said, like you appreciate it so much more when like you're not like you almost like need to not try and follow the plot and you just take what's coming to you on the screen, and because it is so bizarre. I mean, and I think we'll talk about this later, but I mean like the amount of different substances that the dude ends up voluntarily or involuntarily consuming and using. I mean, like you're bound to open yourself up to some pretty weird shit. And it definitely does. But I like that about the movie. I think that's such an integral part of the movie that like it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's not kind of ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. And the soundtrack too is something else that I think is perfect. It's just absolutely perfect for this movie. I mean, we were talking before we came on, and tumbling tumbleweeds when it comes in, like that old Western song, and I think that really, helps set the scene. And like you said, like you think of it in terms of like not in terms of the main characters, but in terms of like Los Angeles as a whole. That sets the scene well. I mean, we've got everything in this movie for the soundtrack. I mean, we have some old shit. We have Creedence frequently. We have Kenny Rogers in here. We have Townes Van Zandt at the end of the film, which I think for me was one of my initial encounters with Townes.
I would agree,
doing the Rolling Stones cover, but it's just, it's so good. I mean, like, at certain times when I think of the soundtrack, I'm like, oh, like it's a Creedence heavy thing, and like I think of Creedence, but then I think of Townes' cover of Dead Flowers by the Stones, and recently I've been on the Tumbling Tumbleweeds team, so it's got something for everybody in this movie for sure.
The music is it's a really well done, well thought out soundtrack, I thought. And I love, and they use it obviously for transitions, and some of those transitions obviously has when the dude is, when he's high, or, when you have those interludes where he's like fucked up and he's flying through the air, the bowling pins, and like, it's like,
The Man in Me.
The Man in Me. Yeah. It's definitely meant to be like consumed in an altered, state of mind, I think, too.
It's almost like a parody of that, though. Like it's almost like a parody or a satirical view of like what somebody's understanding of like what it's like to be high, for example. It's like, oh, like The Man in Me by Bob Dylan starts playing and you're flying through the skies of Los Angeles, which I know has been, it's a ripe ground to recreate. If you do end up getting into that frame of mind, you start swimming a little bit, but it's I don't know, and it's probably one of those things that like most things, we tend to make a much bigger deal out of things that probably didn't have any meaning at all. But it's like this movie is just, it's the sum of its parts, and that's what makes it great. I mean, every single little nut and bolt that's a part of this movie makes it perfect, and I think that's why we love it.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we love it is like I said, all these one-liners, and the reason that it works so well is because the actors they deliver them in a way that it's almost not meant to be a one-liner, but it's part of the monologue, and it just comes off in this perfect way. You know, you compare it to like Step Brothers or like a Will Ferrell type of thing where he has these like crazy, you know, this crazy talk, and like it's funny because it's just outrageous, but like,
and it's like designed to be a one-liner, and it's designed to be seen as a one-liner, but like with this, it like just feels like that's just the way they talk.
Like obviously you're not a golfer. Like there's just things that are just that stick out that are just really funny. The soundtrack's so good. I wanted to ask you, do you think this movie helped or hurt the Eagles as a band and a franchise?
I've had a long night and I hate the fucking Eagles. I have
what did
no
it do
idea.
For you?
So
for a while, I was with the dude. I'd not listened to the Eagles. I'd been rolling Chavez, and I was like, fuck the Eagles. But I've learned to love the Eagles, obviously, off of it. But
yeah, I mean,
it's funny to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely, I like the Eagles, but it was always really funny, and especially like when we first watched it, you didn't like the Eagles at the time, and I was a proponent, so like you were like, yeah, man, I hate the fucking Eagles, but I mean, I'll always sign off on that statement that I hate the fucking Eagles. And speaking of the Eagles, there's a really, really funny story about this movie. So at the end, the last song is Townes Van Zandt covering Dead Flowers by the Rolling Stones. And from a production standpoint, it was actually a little difficult for the Coen brothers and for the Big Lebowski project to get the Rolling Stones to sign off on the use of Dead Flowers, because they held the a certain level of rights to it, considering that they wrote that song. And as the story goes, they weren't too keen to sign off on it until they were given an advance copy of the film. And when they got to the point that the dude says, I hate the fucking Eagles, they were like, all right, man, like, we're going to sign off on this.
No shit.
Yeah. So that's pretty great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's apparently an amazing story.
That delighted the Rolling Stones camp, and they were like, yeah, man, like, you can use Dead Flowers. Go right ahead. So which is great, which, I mean, every single element in terms of like the music selection, I guess, is like, I can't imagine a better song, in that certain instance. Like there's no better song than Dead Flowers to kind of end the movie, that like it's like a resolution of a plot that really had no point, and there was no better performer to play that song than Townes Van Zandt, in my opinion. So it was like, for me, it was like the perfect it was like the perfect note with like just the right amount of melancholy to end the movie,
Yeah. Well, and obviously it has the whole theme of like something happens in your life and it sucks or whatever, and fuck it, like let's go bowling, and they go back to regular life. They go back to as it was.
Yeah, like their best friend dies. Like, what are you gonna do?
Exactly, their best friend dies, and it's like Walter said, just because we're bereaved doesn't make us saps.
Exactly, it's our most modestly priced receptacle.
Where's the closest Ralph's? He says. He's like,
yeah. See, this is the point in the podcast where it just devolves into Ethan and I sharing one-liners back and forth.
So, what one-liners? What? Well, I want to bring up two scenes, and then we'll go because I have plenty of lines in the second one that we'll get to. But the other one I want to talk about is the Jesus intro. And I'm a big fan. Like when characters enter in and you can kind of like set their character up and do all this. That was such a good intro. Like cinematically, really great shots. The music was perfect. You got Walter and the dude just like hunched over, looking at him through the sunglasses, like what the hell? And then they give the background on him, and then he's like, he's just like, that's right, don't fuck with the Jesus. And you're like, oh, dude, it's just
that creep can roll.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, yeah, man, he was actually a pedophile. 8-year-olds, dude.
8-year-olds. Yeah, exactly.
Which the funniest thing about,
he's like, you said it, brother.
The funniest thing about that setting is like, we don't get any background on like who Donnie is, who Walter is, who the dude is, who Jeffrey Lebowski. Like, we don't get any background on anybody. Like the Jesus is like the most well introduced character in terms of like who he is and like where he comes from. Like, we don't know a damn thing about the dude, or like, I don't know what Donnie does for work. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know what Walter does except, be divorced, be Jewish, and, be fixated on his service in the Vietnam War. it's just kind of like one of those things. But yeah, the Jesus scene is great, and like Jesus's handler that's with him, like his little coach or caddy or his bowling caddy, washing the balls. Did you know that they did a spinoff called like the Jesus Rolls a couple of years ago? Apparently, it fucking sucked. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it was all about his story and whatnot. I haven't watched it yet either, but that character got a whole second movie about it, which is great.
It's pretty. That's the hallmark of a well-written film. Yet, when a spin-off or a cameo or like a short character gets this whole full-length film.
And when the dude, he's so fun the way he smokes joints like the whole time,
Yeah.
And when he is in the bed and they just finished like having sex or not.
Yeah, with Maud Lebowski.
Maud. She's like, well, what do you do for a living? He's like, I authored some books. I was a part of the Seattle Seven, and he's like talking. It's like, my career is kind of, he gives a little bit of background like right there for like a quick half second, and then he starts coughing on it like the roach, the end of his joint.
Yeah. Well, that's great too, because that calls back to the beginning where he's talking to the other Jeffrey Lebowski, and he's like, if you don't mind, could I get the $20,000 in cash? I'm afraid that a check will bump me up into a higher tax bracket.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude, it's so good.
There's so many little caveats to this movie. I mean, I was just thinking, I had forgotten about the fact that there was a such thing as the Little Lebowski Urban Achievers, and proud we are of all of them.
Exactly, dude.
Yeah. It was so funny. Like this movie is so tied to my experiences when we went to college together back in Pittsburgh for that 1 year. I'm just thinking back. Like I remember anytime I would post something on social media, our old teammate Chris Montgomery, he always used to comment, and he'd be like, "It's like looks like a Little Lebowski Urban Achiever if I've ever seen one." Like on all of my posts. But I mean, like for us, people we're probably like 30-40 minutes into this episode, and people are like, why the fuck do they care about this random movie so much? And like, that's why, like, it comes from a time and place in our lives where, like, I don't know, like, you're like 19, like, shit is important, and this was one of the pieces of art that we consumed. It's the whole reason why Grunge Bible exists. I mean, the stuff that we were consuming back then is what we still haven't gotten over to this day.
Right. And, another thing that I think about when I dissect a movie or a song, or I kind of give it a higher meaning, or, I elevate it, is like, you got to be passionate about stuff in life, right?
Yeah, you have to.
And when you take in art and you really take the time to try and understand what is to be portrayed and how you're supposed to feel about it. And like, I mean, there's a lot of hard work that puts into it. Like, I like when, I can get to a point where I feel like it's important enough for me to talk about and to say that it has meaning. Like, if you just like listen to stuff or just watch stuff for like the pure entertainment side, it doesn't stick with you in a way. Like, I challenge you to go ahead and try and get to those other levels. Cause that's, it's just nice to be passionate about stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm there for it.
Like we feel the same way about this movie that Walter felt about League Play. I mean, like liking this movie determines who gets into the next round robin. Like, I'm not fucking around. There are rules.
Told that prick down at the league office, I don't roll in
Exactly. That's the thing, and it's so funny too because From a entertainment standpoint, at least for us personally, the most entertaining thing we could have done was come on this podcast and start recording and just immediately start sharing one-liners without context. Because for us, like, that's what this movie is. And like the last, previous 91 episodes and the few special episodes that we've done, I'm sure at least half of them have one-liner references to the Big Lebowski. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things. And like, it was funny. Like it was a little bit of a struggle for me before we recorded this to write some notes on this. And I was like, what do I write about this movie that I know so well? And I just ended up writing like 15 or 20 like one-liners from this movie that that I just remember, and it's probably not even a third of the one-liners that that I use all the fucking time.
Oh yeah, we're gonna leave some out for sure. And I'm excited to get into it. There's one other scene that I wanted to bring up that surprisingly we haven't got into, but it has to be the homework scene where they go to Larry's house.
Is this your homework, Larry?
Walter, yeah, they finds the homework in the car, and then they go and they start parading, parading this young man, and Walter just is like persistent and holding. It's like, is this your homework? Is this your homework? And then it becomes like, this is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass. And it's so funny. And then right when the scene ends, they go to the next scene, and the dude is on the phone, and he goes, no, Walter, I don't think that Larry was about to crack, man.
He was working him.
Walter was like, he was about to crack. He was like, no, Walter, like, he wasn't going to crack. And it's just so funny because like Larry was the little prick was stonewalling him. Like,
the little prick was stonewalling. It was so funny too because like they walk in and like Larry's mom doesn't speak much English, and he's like, "Are you the police?" And Walter's like, "Well, no, ma'am. We're hoping that calling the police won't be necessary. We just need to talk to your son." And he just sits down and like his line of interrogation is just repeatedly asking him, "Is this your homework?" It just doesn't make like.
Man. That's
yeah,
amazing.
He's getting so close. Like his old man is in the iron lung, and he was the writer for some
Branded.
Yeah, he was the writer for Branded, and Walter was like, I just need to articulate how big of a fan I am of your work, and then like the little prick starts stonewalling him by not saying anything, and then naturally, as is the case, Walter, he's like, look, have you ever heard of Vietnam? You're entering a world of pain. And then the probably the most surprising part of the movie is like usually any time that Walter mentioned Vietnam, the dude would just be over and like, what the fuck does this have to do with Vietnam? But the dude hops right on, and he interjects and he's like, we're gonna cut your dick off.
And the Larry stonewalled him the whole time.
Larry stonewalled him, and then obviously that wasn't working, so Walter had to go out and show Larry what it's like when you fuck a stranger in the ass. And a great musical Easter egg, Phoebe Bridgers is a highly regarded figure around the Grunge Bible, around the Grunge Bible neighborhood, and her debut album was called Stranger in the Alps, and the motivation behind that and the story behind that was when they started airing The Big Lebowski on television, they were obviously not allowed to have Walter say, "This is what happens, Larry, when you fuck a stranger in the ass." You probably can't say that on cable, on public access cable. So they edited it to, "This is what happens when you see a stranger in the Alps."
Yeah, find a stranger in the Alps.
Find a stranger in the Alps. Yeah, and like it doesn't make any sense, but the fact that those two are related, because I was a fan of The Big Lebowski before Phoebe Bridgers' album existed, obviously, and the fact that was the motivation behind it, it only made me love Phoebe more. And I felt
that's amazing.
It's important to share, but yeah, that clip is so good. Then the other one that Ethan, you and I have been fans of, especially lately. They're gonna kill that poor woman.
They're gonna kill that poor woman, Walter. Oh, shame. He's like, they're gonna kill that poor
There's
woman.
So many good ones, and then shortly after the this is what happens, Larry incident, they're in the coffee shop. And he's like, they sent us a tow. Walter's like, so they sent us a tow and we're supposed to shit ourselves in fear. He's like, dude, if you want a tow, I can get you a tow by 3:00 this afternoon with nail polish. There are ways, dude. You don't want to know. There
are ways. Oh my gosh, dude. I'm literally just going to start spewing off one-liners here. But one of my favorites is that when they're arguing in the car and Walter just shuts down and says, calmer than you are. Calmer than you are.
And like, when he's objectively not calmer than the dude is.
Yes, no, he's not the whole time. And I do that at times where like I'll start saying that, and like there's probably they don't know the reference. Like calmer than you are, you are, but it's so perfect.
Yeah, we started doing that a lot. I remember calmer than you are was like a very frequent refrain amongst our friend group after we we started watching The Big Lebowski. The other one that I think of in terms of that time, in the parlance of our time back then, was the whole Jackie Treehorn treats objects like women. Man, we would always swap the words, like, I'm not calling your question an honor, instead of saying I'm not calling your honor in a question. That's another
That's a really good one.
That's another great one.
Parliaments of the time. That is good.
Parlance,
It's so funny because he hears that in the beginning of the movie, and the way that they mix in the political stuff too is really good. Yeah. He like hears it in the beginning of the movie, and then he uses it later. Like he just like heard it and then reused it. He obviously doesn't know what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Walter,
intertwined dialogues.
Walter was just amazing. He's like, I got buddies who died face down in the muck, so that you and I can enjoy this family restaurant. It's just so fantastic. I think Walter is the king of the one-liners in this movie. And it's funny, they're sitting at the bowling alley, and the dude is trying to quote Vladimir Lenin, and he says Lenin,
this one gets used a lot.
And then Donnie just keeps interjecting, "I am the walrus. I am the walrus." And Walter finally, you can see he's like stewing over with anger, and then he finally just snaps, like, "Shut the fuck up, Donnie. V.I. Lenin, Vladimir Ilyanov."
Holy shit, dude! That one is so good.
Yeah,
I love when people pull that one out.
It's a tough one to pull out, and it's just
Walter.
Oh my God.
Walter, he has the vibrato. Like he definitely has like the way he delivers his lines are just stonewall in face and. Obviously, the dude does it a little differently, but it's so good.
And he's always talking above his intelligence level. So, like, before the "This is not Nam, this is bowling," there are rules smoky scene, like the over the line scene. Like he walks down, and he's like, "Way to go, Donnie!" And then he says to the dude, he's like, "If you will it, it is no dream." And the dude's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he's like, "Theodore Herzl, State of Israel. If you will it, it is no dream." The dude has no idea what he's saying.
It's so good.
It's just so fantastic. Like, we had to, Ethan, like we had to train to do this episode. Like we had to get our reps in beforehand and just watch, we had to watch film. And, we went into the studio, and we went into the film room rather and dissected. I forgot about so many of these lines.
Another really good one, is when they walk out of the bowling alley and they see the nihilist. And Donnie looks over. He goes, "Are those Nazis, Walter?" He goes, "No, they're nihilists. There's nothing to worry about."
Yeah, nothing to worry about. It's like they were threatening castration.
He said, "What's mine is mine." And he just starts repeating that. "What's mine is mine." And then they get to a big. Says, "Oh no, Donnie was shot." He said, "There were no shots fired. It's a heart attack."
Oh my goodness.
The fact that they had Donnie pass away. I remember watching it the first time, being really confused and being pissed because Donnie was so, he's so, he was very mysterious, and just like, the way that he's treated, and then they kill him off. It's like, damn.
he's a martyr, exactly. So I have to ask you, like, out of I guess the three main characters, like which one of the three do you empathize the most with, and like who do you feel the worst for the predicament that they found themselves in?
I gotta feel the worst for the dude, because Walter's unfazed. Like I feel like Walter's unfazed.
Walter was in Nam,
Yeah, Walter's he was in Nam. He wasn't technically like being attacked. He just was a part of it, and he made the situation. He heightened the situations in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
And of course, Donnie died at the end, so maybe I should feel the worst about him. But the dude was just minding his business, and then they peed on his rug. So
yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, Walter. There's no apologies. Like Walter is a master class in how to make a bad situation worse. He was tremendously talented and gifted at that. But yeah, I have to say, I feel bad for Donnie, man. He's the dog who gets beat, to quote Man in the Box. They rub his nose in shit the whole time, and then how is he repaid? He gets killed when the nihilists attack, and the worst part, he doesn't even get killed by the nihilists. He has a heart attack.
Right.
It's a shame. It's just really tough. Another scene, I was thinking back to the fact, Philip Seymour Hoffman, a young Philip Seymour Hoffman, was in this movie as Jeffrey Lebowski's assistant and kind of, day-to-day administrator, Brant Leland, or whatever the hell his name was. I don't know. Brant Leland's a Seinfeld character. That's not, I'm getting my wires crossed here between the two pieces of film that I based my entire personality off of. But yeah, the other scene at the end, he's like, Walter's like, "I've seen a lot of spiders in my day. This dude can fucking walk. He's a faker." He picks him up out of the wheelchair, and he couldn't walk.
And Walt, yeah, the dude is screaming and he just throws him on the ground. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Also, when he's in with Jackie Treehorn and they're like talking and then he scribbles, he goes over and starts scribbling on the piece of paper, and then the dude thinks he's like gonna be like a detective and super smart. The old like
finding the secret code
and scribble over to see what it is, and it's just like a crude drawing. And
it's a dude with a giant dong.
Like it's just funny stuff that like is well thought out to me. Yeah. It's really good.
It's just, and like the last like 20 minutes of our conversation just kind of going off into all these one-liner tributaries. Like this is the biggest testament that you can have to aid the point that this movie is so good because of every little piece that's a part of it, every single line that's spoken, how many times they say the word fuck, how many times.
Right. What is the final count of that?
It was super high, but
it was the most, and I think it was the most at the time for sure. Maybe there's a movie that has surpassed it since then, like the Limp Bizkit song. But
yeah, exactly. So the Big Lebowski, throughout the film, they said the F word at least 280 times. So that's about 2.4 fucks per minute.
Right, because it's about 2 hours long. That's unreal.
That's a pretty good 4-letter word to minute ratio, in my opinion.
And there's a few drinking games that are attached to this that I think we talked about at the beginning. But the classic is every time he says "fuck," you have to drink. Correct?
Yeah. You got to take a drink every single time anybody says "fuck." So you got to take 280 drinks.
I love when the narrator. What's the cowboy's name again?
The Stranger, Sam Elliott.
The Stranger. Yeah. He's like, could you quit cursing so much? And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Talking about?
It's so good. He's like, fine, have it your way or something.
Yeah, have it your way. I mean, that's pretty much the way that it goes down. But yeah, so I mean, like and it's crazy because like taking 280 drinks, in the span of 100 minutes, 110 minutes, that's a tall proposition. But when that pales in comparison to the the hardcore version of the Big Lebowski drinking game, which I can't remember if we've talked about before on the show, but there is a version of the Big Lebowski drinking game, which I guess would be a Big Lebowski substance game. And essentially, anytime the dude takes a substance, you have to do it. I mean, it's like you got to smoke, you got to drink White Russians, you have to involuntarily be drugged, you have to voluntarily be drugged. I mean, it's just a big old mess.
Yeah, you just match whatever. If he's drinking a White Russian, so are you. Man, it's so good. Yeah. Damn. Yeah. So I feel like we could just read the screenplay,
Yeah, we
just went through if we wanted to.
We could have, and we should have probably just, read the entire quote, the entire monologue, of all of these characters and just put it together. But it's so good. And in the end, I mean, it's so weird, like a movie that has no point really and has no real resolution other than the fact that Donnie dies. Why does it feel so cathartic at the end when the dude's at the bowling alley and the stranger's like, I sure hope he makes the finals, and Dead Flowers is playing, the dude grabs his drinks and heads back to the lane. It's just so perfect. Like I don't really know why, but I don't know about you, but I take comfort in those words. The dude abides. It's good knowing he's out there. The dude taking her easy for all us sinners.
Yeah, there's something about it's definitely not a maybe a realistic situation that everybody's going to find themselves in.
I hope I find myself in it.
Yeah, but people relate to the dude, and when stuff happens, I think it's relatable in a weird way, and I think that's like the comfort, like you said, the dude abides, and the comfort in knowing that. Yeah, it's a masterclass in a lot of ways. I think it gets better with time. It's one of those movies that comes on, you see it being played on TNT or whatever they play it on, and you just you'll watch a few scenes and then you laugh a little bit, and then you can turn it off and then you come back to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you pick it up wherever.
And especially, in the parlance of our times, having YouTube available, I mean, you can watch just about any scene that you want. But I have to say, one of my final final points that I want to say about this movie. Back in 2018, they re-released it in theaters for only 2 days during the month of July to commemorate the 20th anniversary of its release. And I was lucky enough to be able to go and see it in theaters on its 20th anniversary. And I took one of my college track and field teammates who. I was to him what you were to me in terms of this movie, and I was the
amazing.
I was the guiding hand that got them into the movie, and the fact that I was able to go see it in theaters with him was really, really cool. And
that is special. I remember when that came out. I was doing something, I couldn't go watch it. It sucks because I like seeing things in theaters, but I heard some people that went, and they were just like, people were cracking up like it was brand new.
Absolutely.
That's special. That's awesome. I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you were going to do that with someone else. That's perfect.
Yeah, I'm glad I did that, and I'm glad that we were able to do this episode. And I think on my to-do list after having had this conversation with you, we need, next time we're together. I mean, if it's in New York in a couple of weeks, I think we got to watch The Big Lebowski.
We may have to. It's a great.
I think we have to. Emergency meeting. Yeah, we have to get together and put it on and watch it a little bit.
And just recite it together.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. I was just thinking of one last quote that I do like to say a lot too is, sometimes you eat the bar and sometimes the bar eats you.
Absolutely.
And we used to say that a lot too when things were shitty because
Yep. Anytime I remember that spring we were on the road together for track and field, and anytime one of us had a bad meet, I remember like I bombed a couple of meets, and like you come up to me like, sometimes you eat the bar, sometimes the bar eats you, and you know what? You were right, and
and there's only one response to that. It's fuck it, let's go bowling.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you
just got to go bowling. So that's. If there's any lesson to be taken away from this film, it's that sometimes you just have to go bowling. In my opinion, that's the theme. Whatever's going on, you gotta keep at the things you like to do, because that's what'll get you out of the things you don't like to do, and that'll get you out of the hard times. And it certainly did Walter and the dude. It did them proud, did them well. So. You see, there are lessons in The Big Lebowski. People don't realize that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There really are. So if you are listening right now, and this is the episode that you've been waiting for, make sure that you follow us on the Spotify or podcast where you guys listen, and leave a review with your favorite line. I want to know what line did we leave out, because there's plenty.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering,
so many of them.
When you listen to something like this, usually, and if you're a fan of it, you're like, I want them to talk about this scene or something like that. You're kind of anticipating them, being on the parallel train of what you think is the best line. So please let us know your favorite line and why. And that would be pretty cool.
I totally agree. So, and that's the thing. Like, if you've listened to this podcast for a long time and you support us and you've been waiting for this episode, I'm glad that we're able to provide it to you. But if you haven't been listening to this show for a long time and you weren't expecting this episode and you're still here listening, that means you loved it. I think this is your call from the heavens to support us financially on Patreon.
Yes.
If you're still here, if you weren't expecting this episode and you're enjoying it, to the fact that you're still here towards the end of the episode, like you gotta ante up. I mean, this was a sign from above that you have to contribute to something larger than yourself. And we would happily be the recipients of that contribution for sure. So, the links to Patreon, to our merchandise website, both of those are in the show notes. And whatever streaming platform you are on, you can very easily subscribe or leave a review. And that will, any of those proactive steps will make us very, very happy. So, Ethan, before we get going, do we have any songs of the week?
Well, I feel like, it's going to come off the soundtrack.
It has to. Yeah, I wrote down 3. I can't decide.
Yeah, this is tough. I think, I don't know, Man and Me. I feel like Dead Flowers is I think you're right. That was the first introduction to Townes Van Zandt, and I really enjoyed his music over the years because of this. And we've talked a lot about him and his songwriting. So I think Dead Flowers, his rendition, that one's got to be the one I'm putting on the playlist for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I think as a co-host of the Grunge Bible Podcast, I'm going to issue a real-time executive order. I'm going to give myself 2 songs of the week. I have to go with Tumbling Tumbleweeds by Sons of the Pioneers from the 40s. Which opens up the movie. And then additionally, I absolutely need to drop in and see what condition my condition is in. I mean, we could do a whole episode just on that song, but, we probably won't. So a good consolation will be, putting that on the Song of the Week playlist and, giving a nod to Big Kenny Rogers, the late great, and dropping in and seeing what condition our condition was in. That's really important. And Ethan, unless you have any final thoughts, I have one final request from you, and that would be that I end this episode in a similar fashion to the way that I began this episode.
It would be my pleasure to have you to close this out. The last thing I'll say, I think, is good night, sweet prince, and we'll see you guys in the next round of the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see you guys
whether
next
it be
year.
whether it be Saturday or on Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll roll on any day. We'll roll in any round robin or league game, and we look forward to seeing everybody in 2023 in the new year. We hope that it is a healthy year for everybody and a prosperous year in every way that is important to you. And as a man greater than myself once said, the dude abides. I don't know about you, but I take comfort in that. It's good knowing he's out here, the dude, taking her easy for all us sinners. Shoot, I sure hope he makes the finals. Well, that about does her. Wraps are all up. Things seem to have worked out pretty good for the dude and Walter. It was a pretty good story, don't you think? Made me laugh to beat the band. Parts, anyway. I didn't like seeing Donnie go, but then I happen to know that there's a little Lebowski on the way. I guess that's the way the whole darn human comedy keeps perpetuating itself. Down through the generations, westward in the wagons, across the sands of time until... Look at me. I'm rambling again. Well, I hope you folks enjoyed yourself. Catch you on later on down the trail. Say, friend, got any more of that good sarsaparilla?